Well, I'm in the shop, but I'm not working in the shop. I had to go to the hospital and have an operation. And the doctor told me I couldn't go back to work in the shop for 6 weeks. Well, it's been 3 weeks now, so it'll be another 3 weeks before I'll be back in the shop working. But I do have 2 videos that I shot and haven't edited yet. So I'm going to use this little clip on both videos. One of them just a really short little video. And the other one is the video on doing this crazy wood turning. Well, this is the ring I got to do another one with. So after 3 more weeks, though, I got some important things I got to do. I got the new piece for the lathe that gets rid of that cuff. It locks the chuck or the face plate in place. I'm going to replace that. Of course, should only take a few minutes. You can replace it and put it back on anytime you want. And the other thing is I'm going to lube the bearings on the lathe, and I know there's some people that's been wanting me to do a video on that. So anyway, you'll see this on 2 videos, one really short one and one regular size. Well, hello. This is Earl's small segment shop, and it is small. I got a good mess today. Of course, I usually have a mess. I think there are 2 kinds of shop. Those that are made for pictures and those that are made for working. Anyway, today I'm going to be making what I call a crazy wood turning. And this is it here. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see or not, I'm going to try and get it close enough so you can see. It's got all kinds of different little pieces of wood. They're all random. Maybe some of them are really tiny, pretty small, all different. There's no pattern. There's no repetition. All little pieces, all throughout it. People always ask me, when I make one of these, how do you do that? How do you get those little pieces of wood in there? Well, making a turning is easy. It's just made like any other turning. A base, a segmented ring, and a top ring on it. Now, I could have put a top ring with this crazy wood on it, but I put a solid one on it. The thing to do to make it is making the sticks to cut the segments from. I made 3 sticks. Here's one up here. And you can see they're made from pieces of wood cut different lengths, all different woods, and then glued together in just random, no pattern. Each one's random. I got 3 layers on them. I made these pretty thick. Usually I make them thinner. But I made these pretty thick. Like I say, they're all different woods, all random. There's no repetition in them at all. So, like I said, making the turning's easy. It's making the sticks that takes time. It makes a interesting turning. And this one, I was going to make it taller. Changed my mind, I didn't like it. So I got a ring left, and I'm going to make another turning. This one got a dark bottom and light top. I'm going to make one with a light bottom and dark top with this one, I think. Same size. I should have made a big one. Last one I made was a big one. I used a floating bottom, which again had crazy wood in it, and then I made a crazy wood top ring. So, yeah. But, like I said, the basic thing on making this is making these sticks to cut the segments with. So, let's get on with this little project. Okay, to make this turning, I use segments just like any other turning. I'm going to use 20 segments per ring on this one. But the difference is the stock you cut the segments out of. Now this is what I'm going to use to cut the segments out of. You can see it's all glued up little pieces. Little tiny pieces all glued together. Of course, it's time consuming. It makes great turning when you finish, but it is time consuming. What I did, I took all the woods and cut them up at an angle. I use them 22 degrees for this. Now, you can cut them at any angle you want. These are almost 1/2 inch thick, so it makes this almost 1 3/4 inches when finished, which is pretty tall, really. Now, before I did one, years ago, I made a lot of turnings with patterns in them, a lot of solid segment turnings with a lot of different patterns. And every time I'd make a pattern ring, if I needed 16, I'd make 18 or 20, use the 16 best. So one time I had all these spare patterns. What I did, I cut them, sliced them into 1/4 inch thicknesses, sanded them flat, and then glued them up like this, and made a turning, cutting segments out of material like this. Made a very interesting turning, but unfortunately I don't make that many patterns anymore, and I don't have any spare pattern. So, cut them up into little pieces. The smaller you make them, the more interesting it'll be, but the longer it'll take to glue them up. So, you know, you can make them big, you can make them small, that's your choice. You can use any angle you want. But what I do is I start with a flat piece of scrap material. It's got to be flat and straight. And I glue the first row onto that scrap material. When I get the first row glued onto the scrap material, then I'll smooth the top off. I'm going to run it through the drum sander and just flatten the top, smooth it up, and then glue the second ring on. Now when I glue the second ring on, I'll run the angles the other direction. Give it a little strength, make it more interesting. And like I say, the smaller you cut the pieces, the more interesting it is, but the longer it's going to take. So I got some pieces laid out here. I got the edges sanded. I'm going to start in the middle and go both ways. It's kind of hard to keep them straight. So what I'm going to do, when I glue the first one on, got these all lined up ready to go like I want them. I glue the first one on, I'll take a stick like this that's cut, and I'll line it up, and I'll glue the first piece down against the stick so that as I go, they'll be pretty much straight down the edge. Otherwise, they tend to go off on odd directions, which makes it hard, especially second ring getting it lined up with the first ring. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue down the first piece after I get this lined up. Okay, I've got the guide piece clamped down to the edge. Now I'm going to glue the first piece on about in the middle. And then I just need to tack it onto this piece because this piece is going to be removed later. This just scrap piece just to get the first row to hold it together. So I'm just going to put a little glue on it and tack it down just a little bit. Not too much. And tack it down and try and get it straight. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a bit so I can, when I glue the second one up, if it ain't going to move, it'll be solid. Okay, I got all the pieces lined up I'm going to use, and I'm going to start gluing the rest of these pieces on. I want to be sure I get a good glue joint between the pieces. Now they just got to be tacked onto this scrap piece because it's going to be removed later. But I do want to get a good glue joint between the pieces. Okay, one at a time. Glue them on all the way down to the end. Get a good glue joint between them. I'm going to keep gluing these all the way down to the end. I hope the air conditioner ain't making too much noise so that the phone's ringing. Hope my wife answers that in the house. Doggone it. I think she answered it now. Anyway, I got the air conditioner running. It's just too hot to shut it off for the video right now. I hope it don't make too much noise. I got the first row glued on. It's been over 15 minutes. I can see a bad glue joint right away. Doggone it. There's one bad glue joint. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Anyway, I got the strip on the back. It'll give it strength so I can run it through either a planer or a drum sander. I'm going to run it through a drum sander and get it smooth so I can go on the next row. I got a mark where that bad joint is. I don't want that to end up in a segment somewhere. Okay, I'm ready to start doing up the second ring. First ring, the angles went like this. Second ring, I'm going to put the angles the other way, mostly for strength. See if I can get them strong. Trying to get this lined up. This one ain't lined up right there. They won't track right going down. And now, they've not only got to have a good glue joint between the pieces, they got to have a good glue joint between layers. So I'm going to put a good glue joint on the bottom of this one. Then I'm going to very carefully wipe the glue up on this side because I ain't going to glue this way yet. And I don't want it dried up there. So I'm going to glue this piece down and see if I can get it lined up right. And then, like I said, I'm going to clean the glue up on this side so later I won't have glue there, it's all dried up. But it does need to have a good glue joint between these layers now. Now, is it lined up good? I hope so, I don't know. It never does seem to get lined up good. Anyway, that one's on. We'll let it dry for a couple of minutes so it won't move when I push against it. And then I'll start gluing them on this direction. Got them all lined up, the ones I want to use. Already got the edges sanded on them. So I'm going to start gluing these on now. Make sure there are no feathers on them. So I got to get a good glue joint between layers and between pieces. So scrub joint here. I'm going to go ahead and glue this row on. Like I said, it's a bit time consuming, but it's not really that bad. It's been more than 15 minutes now. Glue's still a little wet for squeeze out, but I don't care. I wiped it off on the top. I'm going to run it through the drum sander to get this layer smoothed out. I'm going to put a third layer on it. Now, of course, you don't have to use 3 layers. You can use 2 layers. You can make them thinner. You can make them thicker. You can use 4 layers if you want. But again, the smaller the pieces of wood you got, the better effect it's going to have. And again, the angle, I changed the angle on this one. Gives it good strength. This is pretty strong now. No problem running it through a planer or a drum sander or whatever, even run across the jointer probably. So I'm going to use a drum sander and smooth it off. I took a look to see what I needed more pieces of, and I think I'm going to cut some more maple, haddock, yellow heart, purple heart. I'll cut a piece of this too. So, like I said, they're just random sizes. So I'm going to cut a few. Hope they don't fly everywhere. The last ones were flying around. Third row on. Again, I'm reversing the angle. I'm going this way with the angle this time. Try and get this one lined up so the row will glue on straight. Got to get enough glue on it. Glue it good to the row below it. Then I got to clean the squeeze out up. I'm going to let it sit just a little bit before I start gluing the rest of the segments on, so it don't move when I push against it. Light layer of glue on it. Try and get it lined up straight. And of course, like I said, get rid of the squeeze out so I can do segments next to it later. That squeeze out, you can't get in there and glue them. Okay, take this guide off. Squeeze that out here. Okay, line me up some segments and start gluing them on. I got this stick all glued up. Been 15 minutes since I glued the last one on. Now, I'm going to clean it up. Kind of rough. And I have to remove the backer piece of scrap on the back that I backed it with to start with. I could always saw it off. Real carefully run it through and saw it off. I think what I'm going to do, first sand the top flat and then flip it over and sand this off on the drum sander. Then I'm going to clean up both edges a little bit, and I'll have a second stick ready to go. And now I'm going to make the turning. I think I'm going to use a 6-inch bottom, and the rings will probably be about 6 1/4, 6 1/2. 2 sticks ain't going to be enough. I want to put 2 rings on it. 2 rings will be plenty high enough. Yeah, that's plenty much high. Yeah. But I'm going to need a little bit more. I figure about 48 inches per ring. So I'm going to have to make a 3rd ring. But I'm going to make a shorter ring. I'm going to use this for backing. Make a shorter ring for the 3rd ring. That should give me enough material for third strip, excuse me. It should give me enough material for 2 rings. So I'm going to go ahead, run this through the drum sander. Now you can use whatever you got, but I'm going to run it through the drum sander and clean it up. I got 3 sticks finished. Should be enough. Now, they are completely random. You won't find 2 places on them it's the same. So, it took a while. It took a little bit of work to get them, but I got them. There's a couple of spots that I think I'm going to cut around. A couple of spots I don't like, very small spots. So I got 3 sticks ready to go. Now I want to make the turning 6 inches, big as I can go with a solid bottom. I don't want to bother making a floating bottom for it. So I want a darker colored bottom, and I want it thin. I got some bloodwood here. Bloodwood's hard as a rock, but that's what I think I'm going to use. This is 8-inch piece. I can cut 6-inch square out of it and turn me a bottom. I think that's what I'm going to do. On the top I'm going to put a thin ring. Again, I don't want a thick ring. Thin ring on top. I don't want to distract from the random pieces. I want them to stand out as much as I can. But yet, like I said, I don't want to make a floating bottom with them. One of my friends stopped by the shop, and he said, "Why go to all the bother cutting these pieces and blowing them up?" He says, "Well, you can just stack up sticks, glue them up, and then cut them at an angle. It'll be a lot easier. Of course, after you get a few of them cut, you can glue the pieces together if you want." And sure, you can do that. But you're not going to get random when you do that. In other words, when you finish a piece, when you look at it, all the padauk will be the same size. It'll all be between the Bacote and maple. All the yellow heart will be the same size. It'll all be between the ebony and the Bacote, etc. So when people look at the turning, they can see that it's not random. They can see that it's repetitive all the way around. But with this, it's completely random. Different size, different spacing, different neighbors on it. So, like I said, it took a little work, but I got them. Now, I don't do this a lot. I do it once in a very rare while. Like I said, last time I did it was with some old pattern pieces that come out. Made a really fantastic bow. So, yeah, I'm going to cut 6 inches out of this bloodwood and make a base. And bloodwood is hard, dulls my tools good. But that's okay. My tools are cheap, easy to sharpen. It only takes about 10 seconds to sharpen one. The bits on it are cheap. I got 5 bits for $11. That ain't too bad. So, I'm going to cut up the bloodwood and make a base. I didn't turn off the air conditioner this time. I hope it's not too loud. I cut a piece just a little bit over 6 inches. Give me 6 inches finished easy enough. Mounted it in my coal jaws. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do just like I always do. Turn a mortise in the center for my scroll jaw chuck. I like a mortise. If it's a really soft wood, I can't use a mortise, but I've got a hard wood, and mortise is great. Now I'm going to turn a ring close to the edge as I can get it. Then take it over to bandsaw and follow that ring around, cut it out round. And with mortise, I'm going to take it down after I get it round, put it in the scroll jaws, and then I'll start turning it from there. So right now, yeah, I'm just going to turn the mortise in it and turn the ring around the edge to bandsaw it with. I got a mortise turned in it. Got it fairly round. I'm going to put it in the scroll jaws. Got the mortise about 1/8 of an inch deep. That's plenty enough to hold it good. Put it in the scroll jaws. I'm going to turn the edge around. I'm going to dish it in the center a little bit. About an inch around the edge I'm going to leave and flatten it. Turn it flat and sand it flat. And get ready to put segments on it. I'm only going to put, I think, 2 rings of segments on it. That'll make it plenty high. These are pretty tall. Actually, how tall are they? Let's see. I never even measured them. But these were started out with almost 1/2 inch pieces, so they're 1.25 inches tall. All 3 are the same. I made sure they're all 3 the same, so they're 1.25 inches tall. 2 of them will take it up 3 inches, plus the bottom, plus a small ring on the top. That's plenty good for a 6-inch ball. So I'm going to put it in the scroll jaw. I'm going to turn, when I turn the back, turn the mortise in it, I put a little dimple right dead center. Took my probe here, just put a little dimple in the center. Later when I reverse the turning and bring up the center point on the tailstock, I'll be able to send it just perfect for that. And I think I'm going to use, I was thinking maybe 20 segments per ring, but I'm thinking maybe 24 will be better. This stock ain't too thick, so the sides will be pretty straight. And the segments will be 24, I think. Yeah, 24 will work good. And it's completely random, like I said. So, I'm going to go ahead and put on the screws. Now, I've got the base ready to go. Like I said, it's bloodwood. It's really hard. I dished it out a little bit. Sanded it some in the center. Easy to sand right now. Of course, I got to turn the edge of it into the first ring in the inside, but that's okay. I can do that later and sand it. Got about 1 inch on the outside, turned flat and sanded. 3 sticks ready to go. Got them cleaned up now. All are completely random, And I'm going to make, I think, 2 rings, because these are pretty tall. I started out with 1/2 inch pieces, of course, because I flattened them every time, cleaned them up. They come out just a shade over 1.25 inches. All 3 are the same size, of course. I took them all 3 to the same size. So I'm going to make 6-inch rings, 2 of them. Don't make it that tall just for the rings. Of course, I'll have to put a top ring on them. That's pretty tall, 2.5 inch. So I'm going to use, I think, 24 segments. I was thinking 20, but I think I'll go 24, a little bit smaller segments. Give me a little bit better look, maybe. So, 24 closed segments, excuse me. Cut angle of 7.5 degrees. 6-inch segments. Cut length of 7.899, 7.9, close enough. Now I've got my caliper set for 7.9. I'm going to go to my table saw. I got the fence set up, my table saw. My sled is real easy to set up the fence. I got a video on my channel, a real small segment shot, on how to make that sled. It's really a good sled. It's tight, it's smooth. The fence is really, really easy to set up. Of course, I use my digital angle finder to initially set it up, but I got it set so I can reset it very easily. Now, the last little video I did, I bought a eye gauging depth gauge that I modified to fit on my table saw so I can set the cut length. I'm going to try it and see how it works. So let's go over to the table saw, set it up, and cut a couple of segments. I got my fence set up for 7.5 degrees. Like I said before, very easy to set it up. Now, this eye gauging depth gauge I got on here. I've got it mounted and I've got it set for 0.790. So I got this set for 0.790. Let's cut a piece of scrap and see just how close we are. Wow, right on time. So, that appears to work. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 40 segments. I'm going to cut a couple and then I'll turn the dust collector on and cut the rest. Now there's a couple of spots I got to watch, a couple of spots I don't want to use. There's one right here. So I got to watch some cutting. I'm going to have to raise the blade up a little for these. Okay. Go ahead and turn the dust collector on and cut the rest of them. I'll lift the air conditioner on. I hope it ain't too noisy. Got them cut, sanded, dry clamp. Got to make sure the joints are tight. And in this case, the joints are not tight. They are definitely not tight. Means I've got to change the angle on one or two of them. As much as these are loose, I'm probably going to have to change the angle on two, maybe even three pieces to get the joints tight. I don't believe they come out that far off, but they did. They're loose on the inside. They've got a gap on the inside. That means I've got to cut them less angle. Means I got to change my shim here. On this, I got a shim. I'm going to have to put some more shims on it. I'm going to have to put a shim next to it, sand a couple of pieces, change the angle on a couple, maybe even three pieces, much as it's off. So I'm going to take out a couple of pieces, change the angle on, and put them back till I get it taut. The ring's tight now. I'm going to go ahead and glue it up. Get it glued up, I'm going to put the top clamp down on it. I'm going to use my nylon cord clamp on it. Nylon cord clamp is a great way to go. A lot better than fan clamps. I got a video on my channel just on how to make that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this up. I'm going to glue the clamp now. This up one more time. Should be good. Take it out and check it, make sure. I want no mistakes on this. It took too long to make the segments. Sure it's right. Okay, hang it up and let it dry. Both rings now are glued up. It's been well over 15 minutes, so I can go ahead and work on them. I'm going to put them in the cold jaws. Just barely turn the edge and sand it flat. Both of them, just one side. Don't need to turn both sides, just one side. And I'm going to glue them onto the base. Glue one onto the base, turn the inside a little bit, and then glue the second one on. In the meantime, I got to make a top ring for it. Like I said, I want a light colored top ring. And I don't want a thick one, I want a thin one. I don't want it I want it as least obvious as I can. I think I'll use yellow heart. Anyway, I could put these through the drum sander, but I prefer to do it right on the lathe. I get a better flat surface that way, using the sanding board on them. So I'm going to go ahead and make one side flat and smooth on both of them. Then I'll glue the first one on, turn the inside a little bit. After I glue it on, I'll flatten the other side of the ring and then glue the second ring on. And meantime, I should have the yellow heart ring glued up. Got one side turned, sanded flat and smooth. Still got it in the cold jaw. Got my live adapter fitting the tailstock. I'll put a little bit of glue on it. Don't need too much. Put it in the tailstock. Spin it around, spread the glue out some, get it thinned out. Way too much glue, so thin it out a little bit and spin it around. Don't make no difference where I stop because it's a solid bottom, so there's no special alignment on it. Tighten it down a bit. Let it set for 15. Spend more than 15 minutes. The squeeze out's still wet. I'm going to wipe it. I don't care if it's still wet. Don't make no difference. Been long enough. Wipe the squeeze out. Wipe it from the inside. It'll get on my tool and stick to it. I've had that happen 1,000 times. Wipe the outside or it'll fly everywhere. This one ain't so easy to wipe. It's getting a little thick. I'll wipe up the squeeze out, and then I'm going to turn the inside so I can turn the base into the first ring. Easy now. Ah, come on, get off of there. I don't want you flying everywhere. Ah. That's good. And then I'm going to turn the edge flat and sand it flat, and I'll be ready to put on the next ring. Squeeze out's still a bit wet. Still, right there you can see it. That's okay. I've already got the inside turned. Got the edge turned and flat, and I'm ready to glue on the second ring. Thinking this is going to be too tall. Probably will be, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the same ring on the same way. Just make sure I get the joints offset so they're not lined up. The second ring is glued on good, dried. I got the solid ring made for the top. But looking at this, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Something with this high a side, I should have went ahead and made it 10, 12 inches in diameter for this much height. 6 inch, just too high. Either make it a box or cut it down. I'm going to part off that last ring. And then I'm going to put the top ring on the bottom. First thing I'm going to do is smooth this, so when I use this ring later, I'll have a smooth side ready to go. Now I'm going to part it off, smooth it, put this ring on, just cut it down half that size. Lesson learned, if you don't like it, change it. Don't leave it, you'll never like it. I didn't turn the air conditioner and fan off, so I don't know if it's going to be able to hear me or not. I put the yellow heart ring on top. I'm going to go ahead and finish turning the inside, finish turning the outside. I like this size better. I like it a whole lot better. I don't care. I parted off this much. So what I think I'm going to do after I finish this one off, I'll finish this one off easy. Like I said, turn the inside, turn the outside. Can't sand this too much. The reason being, I've got very hard woods next to softer woods. If you sand it too much, it makes a washboard effect. But sanding is so very, very easy. Most people think it's hard. It's not hard. It's easy. You can do it quick if you do it correctly. And I've got a couple of videos on my channel, Earl Small Signature, just on sanding. I take a piece of really hard wood turning, really hard wood. I scratch it up with 80 grit and then I take it all the way to a piece of glass in just a matter of a couple of minutes. No power tools. They supplies all the power you need. Very easy, very quick, and I show how to do it. Like I said, it's a hard wood I do it with. So anyway, finish this one up. I'm going to turn it, sand it, put a little shellac on it. Can't really shine it up good because there's soft woods in here. Not softwood species, but soft woods of the hardwood species. And then I'm going to turn it over and do the back. And this one I think I'm going to cut a new base. The light material, probably maple, and then put a dark ring on top and see how that works. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to do it with Olin tools, my favorite tool. They cut plenty good. I got it turned ready to sand. Now, like I said, you can't sand it too much. And you can't sand it to a high gloss because it's soft woods without putting filler in it. And I'm not going to put any wood filler in it. Now some folks say Olin tool don't cut all that good. I don't know what y'all think. But we cut with Olin tool. I got to vacuum all this up, and then I'm going to sand this out and put a little bit of shellac on. That's all I'm going to do. Only took a couple of minutes to sand it. Put a little shellac on it. Get a nice shine. Got tiny little pieces of wood. All little pieces. Then they're all random. And I like this height a lot better than I did with two. So I got to turn it over, do the back. Don't bring the center from the tailstock up. I'm going to hold it with a cold jaws. Then I've got this ring left. I'm going to make another one, I think. But I won't be a week or so before I make another one. I got to go to the hospital next week. It's getting late this week now. Got to go to the hospital and get a tumor cut out of my colon. So I'll be in the hospital for a couple of days. I'll be in the shop. But I'm going to head right now and turn this around, turn it back and finish this one up. I've got it done. Turn bottom turn signed. It's not hard to do, but it is time consuming. And again, like I said, these are all little pieces of wood, tiny pieces where you can see them. When you cut the segments, it makes all tiny little pieces, all different, random. There's no pattern in it whatsoever. It's time consuming, but I guarantee you, I know because I've done these before, people will ask me, how did you do that? How did you get those little pieces in there? Well, when they ask you that, you got your choice. You can tell them or you can give them a story. Anyway, a couple of lessons learned. Don't make them this thick. This is way too thick. If you want a big one with big, tall sides, make it 10, 12 inches. That's what I'm going to do. If I do it again, I'll make one. Of course, I'm going to do one with this. I ain't going to throw this away. But if I do another, I'll make a floating bottom, and that way I can use wood like this for the floating bottom, so it'll be crazy wood all the way up. Another thing, if you don't like the way a turning looks, you don't like it, part the last ring off and change it, whatever it takes. I'd rather have a turning that I like and waste a ring than I would have one I don't like, never would like. And this one, I almost made a funnel. This bottom's not very thick at all. The fact is, you can push it and feel it. So that bottom's awful thin there, but I didn't make a funnel out of it. So, I appreciate you watching my videos, and appreciate those that subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do it. It helps me. I don't make any money. I'm not out to make money. I'm out to pass on what little knowledge I have, and hopefully get people doing segmented turnings and really open segmented turnings. That's my passion. And if you haven't been to my channel, go to my channel, Real Small Segmented Shop, and hit videos on top. I got over 85 videos now. I believe it's over 85. And I've got videos on almost everything. And like I said, I got a couple of videos on sanding showing how really, really easy it is to sand. People don't believe it, but it is. It's awful easy. Even this really hard bloodwood just took a couple of minutes to sand it. No problem at all. Even the end grain here, you got end grain on a solid bottom, but there's no problem. Really isn't. So, like I said, I appreciate those that watch. I really appreciate those that subscribe. And I have a cheat sheet. I got cheat sheets on cutting segments. I got one file that contains all the cheat sheets for all the common sizes I use. It's a PDF file, and if you want one, please subscribe and then send me an email. Do not leave me an email in the comments, but send me an email. I'll leave my email address up here, and ask for a cheat sheet, and I'll send you one. And thank you for watching. Come back and see my next video.